For years I gave everything to Rose, thinking that love could fill the emptiness between us. But as I stood there invisible while her life unfolded before me, I realized she no longer needed me. I was just the woman who showed up for the free meal. I arrived at Rose's apartment on Mother's Day, feeling the familiar ache in my joints as I gripped the bouquet of flowers I had picked from a nearby store. At 67, my arthritis made anything more than a simple gesture nearly impossible, but I had hoped no. I needed to believe that this year might be different. This year maybe Rose would see me for the mother who had given everything, even when there was nothing left to give. I stood on the doorstep, smoothing my dress, trying to banish the nervous flutter in my stomach. My navy blue dress, worn too many times to count, was my best attempt at looking put together. I rang the bell, anticipation in my chest, and when the door opened, Rose greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, a smile that had started to feel more like a mask than anything real. "Oh, Mom, you made it?" she said, stepping aside just enough for me to pass her tone flat. Something in her voice told me that she didn't expect me to come, even though I had confirmed twice that morning. Inside, her place was immaculate, of course, everything in its perfect place. It always was. This was a life I had never been able to provide for her, a life of ease and comfort. I envied it in a way that left a bitter taste in my mouth. I followed her into the living room, where a crowd of people I barely knew surrounded a table filled with hors d'oeuvres I could never afford. Then it came sharp and sudden. Rose, with her laughter bouncing off the walls, casually muttered, "You only come for the gifts." The words cut through me and I froze. The sound of laughter filled the room like a tidal wave, each giggle, each snicker adding salt to the wound. I hadn't even been able to enjoy my meal, much less my daughter's company. Without a word, I stood up and left. I walked out into the hallway, tears pricking at the edges of my vision, but I refused to let them fall. I didn't even look back. I left the lunch untouched, just as my love seemed to be unwanted, unnoticed, and easily discarded. After I left Rose's apartment, I drove aimlessly through the city, not sure where I was going or what I was looking for. The streets seemed to stretch endlessly before me, each turn leading me deeper into a void I couldn't quite escape. Eventually, I found myself parked in front of the apartment building I'd just walked out of, staring at the sleek glass windows of Rose's high-rise like it was some foreign land I would never belong to. The same way I had stared at that building from a distance all those years ago, hoping that one day Rose's life would be better than mine, better than what I could offer her. Rose's apartment overlooked the city skyline. It was beautiful, of course. Everything in her life was beautiful. From the polished floors to the perfectly chosen art on the walls, it was a space that screamed success. The living room was furnished with designer pieces, the kind of furniture you'd see in magazines, sleek, modern, and cold. I remember walking through it, feeling the weight of my small, worn-out shoes against the marble floors, my simple navy dress so out of place in this grand world. The contrast was too stark, too much to ignore. My daughter's life was the epitome of everything I couldn't afford, everything I couldn't give her. Framed photos of Rose's glamorous vacations adorned the walls, beaches in faraway places, the Eiffel Tower, a snow-capped mountain in Switzerland, and countless others I couldn't even name. Each picture was a reminder of the life I'd failed to give her, the life I could only dream of. I'd spent so many years trying to make ends meet, putting her needs above my own, and still it never seemed like enough. The house we had shared, the one I worked so hard to create a home in, was long gone sold to pay bills to keep us afloat, to make sure Rose had a chance at something better. But this life was a fantasy. It wasn't our life. It was Rose's, built on a foundation I couldn't touch, let alone build. And as I stood there in the midst of her perfectly curated world, I realized something deep and painful. I no longer had a place in it. I was a ghost, an afterthought in her life. The woman who had spent decades supporting, nurturing, and loving her unconditionally was now nothing more than a figure in the background. I could see it in the way Rose had spoken to me that day, in the way her smile had never quite reached her eyes. I was there, but I wasn't present. She had moved on, and I was no longer relevant to her, not in the way I had once been. I thought back to all the years I spent raising Rose, the sacrifices I made, and the nights I stayed awake worrying about her future. I did everything I could to shield her from the harsh realities of life, to give her a chance at something better. I worked multiple jobs when I could barely stand, made sure she had everything she needed, even when I had nothing left to give. I thought that by doing all of this, I was creating a life for her that would make her happy, that would give her everything I couldn't provide. But now, as I stood outside her life looking in, I saw how far apart we had grown, how invisible I had become. The house we had once lived in, the one I sold, so I could downsize into a small apartment, felt like a distant memory now. I had traded in the familiar walls and the garden where Rose used to play for a tiny one-bedroom unit on the outskirts of town. It was modest, to say the least. I could barely afford the rent on my fixed income, and every month felt like I was treading water just trying to stay afloat. I had made the decision to sell the house after Robert passed away. It wasn't easy, but it was the only option. The house was too much for me to handle alone, and I needed something smaller, something manageable. I thought it would be a fresh start, a place where I could rebuild, find peace, and maybe find some sense of belonging again. But every day in my small apartment, I felt the weight of the years, the weight of giving everything I had for a life that wasn't mine anymore. I had spent so many years focusing on Rose, making sure she had everything she needed, that I had forgotten to take care of myself. I had allowed myself to become invisible, a background figure in my own life. I watched the world around me move on, and I was left behind holding on to memories of a time when I was important to someone, when I was seen. In the quiet of my apartment, I would sometimes catch myself wishing for something more, for a life that wasn't just about surviving, but about living. For a relationship with Rose that wasn't built on sacrifices I made years ago, but on mutual respect and love. I had always been the one who gave, the one who put others before myself, but I couldn't help but wonder if I had given too much, if I had lost myself in the process. But the truth was staring me in the face every time I looked at my reflection in the small bathroom mirror. I had sacrificed so much for Rose, but in doing so, I had lost pieces of myself along the way. And as much as it hurt to admit, I was starting to realize that perhaps Rose didn't need me in the way I had hoped. She had her life, her success, and her own family, and I was no longer the center of it. I couldn't help but wonder as I sat in my small apartment if I would ever be seen again, truly seen, for who I was, for all I had done. Would I always be the person who gave, who faded into the background, or was there a chance for me to step forward to reclaim a piece of my own life? The evening carried on heavy with a tension I couldn't escape. I found myself seated at the farthest corner of the dining table, as if I were an afterthought, an accessory to the occasion rather than an actual participant. The long table stretched out before me, laden with expensive plates of food that smelled delicious, far better than any meal I could ever afford to make. I had barely touched my plate, too busy trying to ignore the growing pit in my stomach, the nagging sense of being out of place in a world that no longer seemed mine. The conversation around me was like a foreign language talk of luxury vacations in the Maldives, business ventures I couldn't even begin to understand, and wine that cost more than I made in a week. Rose flitted from one guest to another, playing the perfect hostess, making sure everyone had a drink in hand, laughing at the right moments, never missing a beat. And me? I sat there invisible, trying to catch the edge of their conversation, hoping to find a space to fit in. But every time I opened my mouth, the words were drowned out by the louder voices surrounding me. I wasn't even sure why I bothered to speak. What could I possibly contribute to their world, the world that was so far removed from mine? I had become a background figure, an ornament there to fill a seat and nothing more. Every laugh, every comment, every passing glance was a reminder that I didn't belong, and Rose. She moved around the table with such ease, greeting her friends, exchanging stories of their successes. She never seemed to notice how far apart we had grown, how little we had in common anymore. Then it happened, the moment that shattered everything. Rose, standing beside the table, looked at me with that smile, the one that was supposed to be warm, but I could see the malice lurking beneath it. I had seen that smile before. It was the same smile she used when she didn't want to acknowledge the truth, when she was about to say something that would cut deeper than any words I had ever heard. And then she did it. She looked right at me, and in front of everyone she said, "Oh, Mom, always here for the free stuff, huh?" The words hit me like a slap to the face. I froze, unable to respond, my heart sinking into my stomach. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, everything went quiet. It wasn't just the sting of the words themselves, it was the tone, the casual cruelty in them. The way she said it like it was a joke, like it was a punchline to a joke that everyone around the table was in on except me. And then, as if the words weren't enough, the laughter started. Rose's friends, her in-laws, the strangers who filled the room, they all laughed. It wasn't the uncomfortable kind of laugh, the kind that's awkward when someone makes a mistake. No, this was real, genuine laughter. They were laughing at me at my expense, and it was the kind of laughter that echoed in my ears, ringing louder and louder until it felt like it would swallow me whole. The laughter wasn't just a sound. It was a humiliation, a public shaming, a reminder that I was nothing more than a joke to my own daughter and her friends. My face turned hot, my hands trembled, but I couldn't bring myself to move. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. My throat felt tight, like I was suffocating on my own feelings. But the more I sat there, the more I realized I wasn't just sitting there, I was participating in this cruelty, in this mockery. I was the one they were laughing at. And Rose. She stood there grinning, enjoying the show, enjoying the humiliation of the woman who had given her everything. I couldn't take it anymore. My heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces, each one heavier than the last. I slowly pushed my chair back the legs, scraping across the floor, loud enough to cut through the laughter. The noise, the chatter, the constant stream of voices, it all faded into the background as I stood up and walked toward the door. No one stopped me. No one even seemed to notice that I was leaving. Rose didn't call out to me. No one asked if I was okay. It was as if my departure was just another part of the show, just another moment in the evening where I could quietly fade into the background, unnoticed, unimportant. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't thank anyone for the meal. I barely touched the meal I had sat through, only to be made the punchline of their jokes. I walked out of that apartment with my head held low, my heart broken, but also strangely calm. I didn't look back, not even when I heard Rose's voice from behind me calling after me in that dismissive tone. "Oh, Mom, don't be dramatic." Dramatic! That's what I had become. That's how Rose saw me now. A woman who had once been everything to her, now a burden. A joke. The truth was too much to bear. And as I walked out into the cool evening air, the weight of it all settled in. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't an isolated incident. No, this was how it had been for years. This moment wasn't just a culmination of one hurtful comment. It was a reflection of everything I had become in Rose's eyes, invisible, irrelevant, and disposable. As I drove away from the apartment, the tears I had been holding back finally fell. But they weren't just tears of hurt. They were tears of something deeper, something I hadn't fully understood until that moment. The realization that maybe, just maybe, I had been giving too much of myself for too long. And in doing so, I had lost everything. Even Rose. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't not after what had happened at Rose's. The sound of their laughter, the sting of her words, "Always here for the free stuff, huh?" replayed over and over in my mind. It was like a broken record, each loop digging deeper into my chest. The quiet of my small apartment was suffocating, and yet it was the only thing I could focus on. The world outside felt distant, like a fog had settled in around me, and I was left inside alone with my thoughts. I had hoped foolishly, perhaps, that Rose would call or message me anything that might show some sign of remorse. Maybe she didn't realize how cruel she had been. Maybe she was just embarrassed trying to fit in with her friends and family. But, as the hours passed, my phone remained silent. I checked it repeatedly as if hoping that miraculously there would be a message from her, an apology that would lift the weight off my chest. But there was nothing. The next few days were a blur of restless nights and quiet mornings. The humiliation from that dinner didn't fade. It lingered, crawling under my skin like an infection I couldn't rid myself of. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rose's smile, the way it didn't quite reach her eyes, the way her words had come out like knives, disguised as humor. The laughter that had followed, loud, unrelenting, and full of cruel amusement, echoed in my ears, drowning out every thought, every hope. I spent my days in a haze, doing the bare minimum to get by. I went through the motions, making coffee, cleaning the apartment, but it all felt like I was on autopilot. The truth was, I felt invisible, like I had no place in the world anymore. I kept thinking about all the years I had sacrificed, all the years I had poured into Rose, only to be discarded, humiliated, and forgotten. And as time passed, I started to wonder if maybe that was what I deserved. I thought about the woman I had once been, the mother who had given everything for her daughter, the woman who had spent sleepless nights worrying about her future, the woman who had put her needs aside for the sake of her happiness. I had worked tirelessly to provide for Rose, to give her the kind of life I never had, to make sure she didn't suffer like I did. And now I was just a joke to her, a charity case, nothing more. The shame of it weighed heavily on me, but as much as I tried to ignore it, something deep inside me was starting to stir. It wasn't just the humiliation I was feeling, it was the realization that I had let myself be treated this way for far too long. I had allowed Rose to become someone I didn't recognize, someone who didn't value me, someone who saw me as nothing more than an inconvenience. The days went on, and my frustration turned inward. I found myself questioning everything. Was I too much? Had I overstepped my boundaries? Was I too dependent on her? Or had I simply given too much, sacrificed too much to a person who would never appreciate it? I didn't know the answers, but I knew one thing: I couldn't keep going like this. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. And then one morning, as I sat at my kitchen table nursing a cup of lukewarm coffee, I saw it, a letter. It wasn't a text or a phone call, but a physical letter, something official looking, sealed in an envelope with a logo I recognized from years ago. My heart sank as I reached for it, my fingers trembling slightly as I tore it open. The letter inside was from a law firm, Morrison Blake, and Associates, the same firm I had used 15 years ago when I made a difficult decision regarding Rose's future. I couldn't understand why this was happening. It didn't make sense. The letter informed me that Rose and her husband James were being asked to vacate the property they had been living in, the house that Rose had called her own for the past 8 years. The property had been under my name all along, something Rose had never known. The deed had remained in my name, and now, due to legal reasons, it was time for them to leave. At first, I couldn't process what I was reading. I read the letter again, this time with more clarity, but it still didn't sink in. The letter was clear this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some kind of misunderstanding. This was the legal reality of the situation. The house, the one that Rose had decorated and claimed as hers, was still mine. And now the time had come to make a decision. I put the letter down and sat back in my chair, the weight of the situation settling in. The truth was impossible to ignore now. The house, the one I had bought for Rose when she was struggling after her divorce, was never really hers. I had made the decision to put the deed in my name temporarily, hoping that things would settle down, that Rose would find stability again. But life had a way of getting in the way, and before I knew it, years had passed, and I had never transferred the deed to her. I stared at the letter in front of me, and a strange calmness began to wash over me. It wasn't relief exactly, but it was something close. It was the realization that I had been holding on to something for so long, something I had never fully understood until now. The sacrifices I had made, the things I had done for Rose, had all led me to this moment. And now the time had come for me to make my own choices, to take control of my life again. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine, that I was fine. The truth was, I had been giving too much, and now it was time to take back what was mine. The house, the money, the love, none of it had been enough to make Rose see me as anything more than a charity case. And that was something I couldn't change. What I could change, however, was how I moved forward from this moment. I set the letter aside and stood up from the table, my resolve hardening. Things were going to be different from now on. I was done being invisible, done being the background figure. It was time for me to take back my life. The next morning I woke to the hum of my phone vibrating across the table. For a split second, I hoped it was Rose. Maybe she had finally realized the weight of what had happened at dinner and was calling to apologize. But when I saw her name on the screen, the knot in my stomach tightened. Something felt off. I hesitated before answering, unsure of what to expect. I had already braced myself for so much disappointment, for so many years of emotional neglect. But the sound of Rose's voice on the other end was filled with panic, her breath short and uneven. "Mom, I need to talk to you." Rose's voice trembled. "There's a letter from a law firm. It's about the house. You need to explain what's going on." My heart skipped a beat. I knew exactly which letter she was referring to, the same one that had shattered my sense of stability just hours before. The one that had turned my world upside down. The one that had made everything come crashing down with the brutal clarity of reality. I had hoped Rose wouldn't call that. Somehow maybe she wouldn't figure it out. But now it seemed like the moment had come. The moment when everything I had kept hidden, all the decisions I had made, would finally be exposed. "Which law firm?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though inside I was anything but calm. "Morrison Blake and Associates." Rose replied, her voice sharp with panic. They're saying James and I don't have any legal claim to the house, that we need to vacate. What is this?" "What's going on, Mom?" I sat down heavily, feeling the weight of the moment. My pulse quickened as I fought to keep my composure. The truth that I had buried for so long, something I had done for Rose, something I had kept hidden to protect her, was now coming to the surface, whether I was ready for it or not. The house I had bought for Rose after her first marriage fell apart, when she was struggling and barely keeping afloat. I had made the decision to help her, to give her a fresh start. I had used the equity from the house Robert and I had paid off for decades to secure a place for her and her family. But the deed, the legal ownership, had remained in my name all along. I had never transferred it to her, not in all the years she had lived there. I had meant to, but life had a way of getting in the way. Medical bills, Robert's health issues, Madison's problems at school, and eventually Derek's presence in Rose's life. I had told myself I would fix it eventually, but now here I was facing the consequences of my actions. Mom Rose's voice was strained. "What is this? Why would we have to leave? We've lived there for 8 years. We've paid the mortgage every month. This house is ours." I closed my eyes, feeling the sharpness of her words pierce through me, but it wasn't anger I felt. No, it was something deeper. It was the sting of realization that Rose still didn't know the full story. She had never known the truth about the house. She had lived in it, treated it like her own, but it had never been truly hers. And now the truth was finally catching up with her, with both of us. "Rose, listen to me," I said, my voice low but firm. "The house you've been living in, it's still mine. It was always in my name. I bought it for you when you were struggling, but I never transferred the deed to you. I was planning to do it, but things always seemed to get in the way. And now, because the property was never legally yours, the law is asking you to leave." There was a long silence on the other end, and I could almost hear Rose processing the words. I could picture her in that beautiful, expensive kitchen of hers, the one I had helped pay for with the money I had borrowed against our home. I could imagine the shock, the disbelief, the sense of betrayal. But why? Rose's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me? Why would you do this?" The pain in her voice was palpable, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. This wasn't how I had wanted things to unfold. I had only ever wanted what was best for her, but now it felt like I had betrayed her trust. But I hadn't. I had made a decision in her best interest, even if she didn't understand it now. "You were struggling, Rose." I said the words coming slowly, carefully. "I bought that house for you because I wanted to give you stability. I wanted you and Madison to have a home you could feel safe in. You were living in a tiny apartment, barely getting by, and I couldn't stand to see you struggle, so I used everything I had to help you. But I never meant for you to think that the house was yours all along. I put the deed in my name because I didn't think you would accept it if you knew the truth. I thought you would rather earn it on your own without any help from me." There was another long pause, and I could feel my throat tighten. This was it, the moment of truth. Rose had to hear it. She had to know what I had done, even if it was hard for both of us to face. Finally, Rose spoke, her voice softer now, tinged with confusion and hurt. "So, all these years we've been paying rent, not the mortgage?" I felt my heart drop. "Yes," I replied, barely able to whisper the word. "You've been paying me rent. All this time I never corrected you. But that's the truth, Rose." I could almost hear the wheels turning in Rose's mind, the weight of everything I had just said settling in. I wondered how she was feeling, betrayed, shocked, maybe even angry. And yet there was something else beneath her words, something I hadn't expected, something that felt like justice. The realization that in some small way I had finally taken control of my life again. The sacrifices I had made, the decisions I had hidden, had led to this moment. And now it was time for Rose to see the truth. The phone was silent for a long while, and when Rose finally spoke again, her voice was quieter, more composed. "I need to think, Mom. I don't even know what to say right now." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Take all the time you need, Rose. But remember, you're not the only one who's been struggling in this situation." We both sat in silence after that, each of us processing the weight of the truth that had been revealed. And as I hung up the phone, I realized something I hadn't expected: to feel peace. For the first time in a long time, I knew that I was no longer invisible in my own life. The truth was out, and now I was finally free to make my own decisions, to take control of my future. The next morning after Rose and I spoke on the phone, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. My mind replayed our conversation over and over again. I knew this was the moment I had been avoiding for years, the moment I had kept hidden, tucked away deep inside, out of sight, out of fear. But now the truth had to come out. Rose needed to know, and so did James. I hadn't planned on revealing everything this way over the phone, but it felt inevitable. I had to sit down with them face to face and tell them the full story. I had kept this secret for far too long, carrying the weight of it alone. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about the house. It was about everything. About the years of sacrifices I had made for Rose, the years of giving and giving only, to end up here broken and unappreciated. I waited for Rose to call back, and when she finally did, I asked her to come to my small apartment. She hesitated at first, but I could hear the tension in her voice, the confusion. She was trying to make sense of it all. "Okay, Mom," she said quietly. "We'll be there in an hour." When they arrived, I could see the uncertainty in their eyes, Rose and James standing at my door. Rose had that look she always wore when she wasn't sure how to approach something, and James, always the quiet one, seemed like he was waiting for a sign, something that would tell him how to act in this strange situation. I led them into the living room, where the air felt thick with anticipation. This was it. "Please sit down," I said, gesturing to the couch. "We need to talk." As they sat down, the silence stretched between us. I could see the way Rose fidgeted, the way she tugged nervously at her sleeve. James sat next to her, his hand resting on her knee, giving her a sense of comfort. I could tell they both had questions, but none of them were being asked. They were both waiting for me to speak, to explain the mess I had made, the mess that had been sitting between us for years. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling slightly as I folded them in my lap. The weight of the moment felt unbearable. I had never imagined that this day would come, that I would be forced to face the truth, to reveal everything I had done. But here we were, and I knew there was no turning back now. Rose. I began softly, my voice steady, but filled with emotion. James, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. Rose's brow furrowed as she looked at me, her eyes searching mine for any sign of what I was about to say. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but I raised a hand signaling for her to wait. You've been living in a house that I bought for you. I said the words, finally spilling out. But it was never yours? Not really. Rose blinked, confused. She opened her mouth, but I quickly continued, the words coming faster now as I felt the weight lifting off my chest. When you were going through your divorce, when everything fell apart and you were struggling, I wanted to help. I couldn't bear to see you living in that tiny apartment fighting to make ends meet. I knew you needed stability, so I used the equity from our house, the one Robert and I worked so hard to pay off over the years. I took that money and bought you a house, a home. I wanted to give you the stability that you couldn't find on your own. Rose's face softened, but there was still a look of disbelief in her eyes. I could see the confusion growing like a cloud slowly starting to form. James looked at me, his brows knitted together. He was trying to understand, but he was as lost as Rose. But why? Rose whispered, her voice shaking slightly. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you just give it to me if you were helping me? I let out a long breath, gathering my thoughts before continuing. I didn't think you would accept it. Your pride. Rose, your pride wouldn't have let you. I knew that. You were determined to make it on your own, and I didn't want you to feel like you couldn't do it yourself. So I put the house in my name. I thought I'd transfer it to you later when things settled down, but I never did. And all these years I've been paying the mortgage, not you. I was paying for it, not you. Rose looked at me, her face pale, her lips parted in shock. James sat back, rubbing his forehead in confusion, as if trying to process what I had just revealed. The air in the room was thick, heavy with the silence of their shock. You've been paying for it all this time, Rose whispered, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. I nodded slowly, the truth spilling out now like a flood. Yes. All these years you and James thought you were paying the mortgage, but it was me. I never corrected you. I never told you the truth. James stared at me, his eyes wide. But we've been paying month after month. The checks, the payments, why didn't you just tell us? We thought we were doing the right thing. I know, I said, quietly feeling the sting of my own guilt. And I should have told you, but I didn't want to make things harder for you. I wanted to give you both something stable, something to call your own, and I thought you'd appreciate it more if you believed you had worked for it. But now it's all come to this. The house is mine, and I never transferred it to you. The room was still the only sound coming from the ticking of the clock on the wall. Rose and James sat in stunned silence, their faces pale, their eyes wide with disbelief. I could see the realization dawning on them, the truth sinking in. Rose, unable to process what I was saying, finally whispered, You mean, all these years we've been living in a house that wasn't really ours, that we never truly owned? I nodded slowly, my voice breaking as I spoke. Yes, Rose, that's exactly what I'm saying, and now because of that, the law is asking you to leave. The house, our home, it's mine. Always has been. There was no immediate response. For a long time, neither Rose nor James spoke. The silence between us was heavy, thick, with shock and confusion. It was the silence that followed a deep wound, one that could not be easily healed. Rose's world had just shifted, and so had mine. I had kept this secret for so long, and now all of it was out in the open. There was no going back. The silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Rose and James sat in stunned silence, trying to process everything I had just told them. They had no idea the weight I had been carrying for the past 15 years. It was as if everything they thought they knew about their life, the house, their stability, their future was now built on a lie. But in that silence, I felt something shift inside me. A sense of resolve that I hadn't known was there buried beneath years of sacrifice and unspoken pain. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. For so long I had let the silence speak for me. I had let the years of hurt and humiliation go unaddressed, swallowed up by my own reluctance to confront the truth. I had been the one who gave, the one who sacrificed, the one who silently endured. But not anymore. It was time to take control, to find my voice and use it. I've been silent for too long. I said, my voice, steady, but firm. I've spent years holding everything inside, thinking that if I just kept giving, if I just kept sacrificing, things would get better. But they haven't. And I can't keep living like this, pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Rose and James didn't respond. I could see the shock in their eyes, but I couldn't wait for them to process it all. This wasn't about making them feel better anymore. This was about me, about finally standing up for myself after all these years. The truth is, I continued, my voice gaining strength with each word. I've spent my entire life taking care of you, Rose. I've given everything I had, everything I could, and for what? For you to turn your back on me when I needed you most. For you to make a joke out of me in front of your friends. I've spent all these years watching you live a life I could never afford, pretending to be happy, all while you've treated me like I'm nothing. I paused, looking directly at Rose. She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. I could see the guilt and the shame on her face. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to undo the years of hurt. I had to keep going to make sure she understood the depth of my pain. For so long, I thought you needed me, I said quietly. I thought that if I kept helping, if I kept making things easier for you, we'd get back to the way things used to be. But I was wrong. You don't need me. You've built a life that doesn't need me in it. And now I need to do what's best for me. I could feel the weight of my words pressing down on me. But as difficult as it was to say them, I felt a strange sense of liberation in the act of speaking my truth. For so long, I had allowed Rose to be the center of my world. I had allowed myself to be invisible, to be the silent provider, the ever-giving mother. But I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stay in the shadows of her life, watching from the sidelines while she walked all over me. Here's the truth of the situation, I said, my voice hardening with determination. The house you've been living in, the one you've called home for all these years, it's mine. It always has been. And now I'm making a decision that's going to affect all of us. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. I could see the fear creeping into Rose's eyes, the realization of what I was about to say. James shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable with where this conversation was going. But I wasn't backing down. This was my moment, and I was finally taking control. You have 3 days to vacate the property, I said, my voice cold and matter-of-fact. I'm giving you 3 days to figure out what you're going to do. I've already spoken to my lawyer, and the legal documents are in place. I've had enough, Rose. I'm done being the one who cleans up the messes, who makes excuses, who sacrifices everything. This time it's about me. There was a moment of stunned silence, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. But I didn't flinch. I had spent too many years being afraid of the consequences of standing up for myself. I wasn't afraid anymore. Rose opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand, stopping her. Don't, Rose, I said quietly. I've spent too many years letting you walk all over me. This isn't about you anymore. It's about me finally getting the peace I deserve. I've kept my silence for far too long, but not anymore. I could see the anger flash in her eyes, the hurt and confusion, but there was something else there too, a recognition. For the first time in years, she was seeing me. She was hearing me, and I could see the walls she had built around herself begin to crack just a little. But it wasn't enough, not after everything. 3 days, I repeated, my tone unwavering. That's all I'm giving you. After that, I'll begin the process of selling the house." I stood up then, walking to the door. I had said everything I needed to say. I had made my decision. I was finally taking back control of my life, my choices. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their understanding. What I needed was my own peace. "Take it or leave it, Rose," I said over my shoulder, "but that's the way it's going to be." I walked out the door, leaving Rose and James behind, standing in the living room that had once been their home. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of clarity. I wasn't walking away in defeat. I was walking away because I finally realized that I deserved more than the scraps of love and respect I had been given. I deserved to live for myself. As I stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind me, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. This was the first step toward freedom, and I wasn't looking back. The days that followed felt like a strange, surreal blur. The weight of my decision to ask Rose and James to leave was still heavy on my shoulders, but there was something freeing about it. I had set a boundary. I had finally spoken the truth that had been festering for so long. But deep down, I couldn't deny the small part of me that still wished things had gone differently, that Rose hadn't been the one to cause the distance between us. Then, just as I had expected, the call came. It was late one evening, the sun long gone, and the city outside my apartment had settled into a quiet that mirrored my mind. I had just finished cleaning up after dinner when my phone rang. I didn't need to check the caller ID. I knew it was Rose. "Mom?" Her voice was small, fragile, and I could hear the tremor in her words. "Can we talk? I need to apologize." I hesitated for a moment, the stillness of the room wrapping around me like a blanket, but I knew this moment had been coming. I had expected it, but part of me dreaded it. Part of me knew that an apology, no matter how heartfelt, would never be enough to undo the years of emotional neglect and unspoken pain. "I'm listening," I said quietly, my voice calm but resolute. I don't know where to begin." Rose continued, her words coming out in fits and starts, as if she couldn't find the right way to say what she had to say. "I've been terrible to you, Mom. I've taken you for granted for so long, and I didn't even realize how much I hurt you. All these years I've been too focused on everything else, on impressing James's family, on my own life, and I forgot about you. I forgot how much you've done for me." I sat back in my chair, letting her words wash over me, trying to keep my emotions in check. Part of me wanted to jump in to interrupt her and tell her how much she had hurt me, how much it had broken my heart to watch her become someone I barely recognized, but I held my tongue. This was her moment to apologize, to understand what she had done and what it had cost. "I'm so sorry," Rose's voice cracked, and I could hear the rawness in it. "I didn't mean what I said at the dinner table. I was just trying to impress James's family, to show them that I had everything together. But that's no excuse for how I treated you. You've always been there for me, and I've been blind to it. I've treated you like an inconvenience when you've been the one supporting me all along, and for that, I am truly sorry." Her words were broken, filled with regret. I could feel the desperation in her tone, the realization that she had crossed a line she couldn't erase with a simple apology. But the truth was, an apology, no matter how heartfelt, couldn't take back what had been said, what had been done. "Rose," I said softly, my voice quiet but firm, "I appreciate your apology. But you need to understand that it's not just one comment. It's not just that one moment at dinner. The years of disrespect, the years of me putting everything aside for you, it's been a slow erosion, one that's chipped away at our relationship. I've been your mother for so long, always there when you needed me, and yet I've always been in the background of your life. You've always been the one who was important, while I was just a background figure, a supporter." I paused for a moment, my heart heavy with emotion, but I knew I had to say this for both of us. "Do you know how it feels to spend years giving everything you have to someone who doesn't even see you anymore? To pour your heart into something and then have it tossed aside like it was never important? That's what it's been like for me. For years I've been invisible to you, Rose. And that's what hurts the most. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could hear Rose's shallow breathing, the sobs she was trying to suppress, and I felt the ache in my chest deepen. It wasn't just the apology I was waiting for, but the acknowledgement of the pain I had endured. The understanding that I wasn't just some caregiver in the background of her life. I was a person with needs, with feelings, with emotions. And for once, I needed her to see me. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mom Rose," whispered her voice barely audible. "I didn't realize how much I had taken from you until now. And I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry for all the years of taking you for granted, for not seeing you, for not appreciating everything you've done for me." I took a deep breath, feeling the tears rise in my own chest. As much as I had wanted to hear this apology, as much as I had longed for her to understand the pain I had carried for so long, I couldn't help but feel that it wasn't enough. How could it be? How could words ever undo the years of neglect? How could an apology fill the void that had been created by years of silence, of being treated as less than "I know you're sorry"? "Rose," I said, softly, my voice breaking slightly, "but the truth is, I can't just move on from this. The years of hurt are deeper than one careless comment, one apology. And I need time to process it all. I need time to figure out what I want, what I need, because for so long I've been giving everything to everyone else and nothing to myself." Rose was quiet for a moment, and I could sense the guilt in her silence, the weight of her actions settling on her shoulders. I could feel her remorse, but I also knew that an apology, no matter how genuine, couldn't heal the wounds that had been inflicted. Not yet, at least. "I understand," Mom Rose finally said, her voice softer now. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I just want you to know that I'm truly sorry, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Just, please know that I love you. I never meant to hurt you." Her words were sincere, and for the first time in a long time, I believed that she truly understood the gravity of what she had done. But there was still a part of me, a part that had been hurt so deeply, that knew this wouldn't be enough. It couldn't be enough, not yet, not until I could fully heal, until I could rediscover who I was, beyond being Rose's mother. "I love you too, Rose," I said, my voice soft. "But this is going to take time. I need time." The line went silent again, but this time it wasn't filled with the same heavy weight. There was a shift in the air, a quiet understanding between us. Rose's apology, though imperfect, was a step toward healing, but it was only the first step, and I knew it would take time for both of us. Time to rebuild, to find a new way to be mother and daughter, one where we could both be seen. The weeks that followed Rose's apology were a mix of emotions, some healing, some unresolved. Rose and I had begun to reconnect in small ways, but the weight of the years of hurt and silence still lingered between us. It wasn't easy for either of us to move forward. I could sense her attempts to make up for the damage she had caused, but I also knew that I couldn't go back to being the person I was before. I couldn't return to a life where I was constantly giving, constantly sacrificing, without ever receiving anything in return. I spent hours alone thinking, processing everything that had happened. My thoughts were consumed by the decision I had made, telling Rose and James they had to leave the house that had been the centerpiece of so many memories, so many sacrifices. It was a house I had bought for them out of love, out of a desire to give Rose the stability she needed after her life had crumbled. But now it was just a house. It no longer symbolized the hope and love I had invested in it. Now it symbolized something different, a life I had built around someone else, a life where my own needs and desires were pushed to the side. The decision to sell the house wasn't one I made lightly. It wasn't just about the property, it was about what the house represented. The sacrifices, the years of giving everything I had to make sure Rose was comfortable, to make sure she had everything she needed. But in the end, I had to face the truth. I couldn't live in the shadow of that house anymore. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. And so I made the decision. I would sell the house The home that had been a symbol of everything I had given up for Rose would no longer be mine. It would be gone, and in its place I would find something for myself, a place where I could finally breathe, a place where I could live, without the chains of my past life and my daughter's expectations. I called the realtor the following day, making arrangements to put the house on the market. It wasn't a decision I took lightly, and I knew it would hurt Rose. I had spent years protecting her from the harsh realities of life, but I couldn't do it anymore. I had to put myself first, for once. I had to stop being the person who gave and gave without ever asking for anything in return. When I told Rose about my decision, she was shocked, of course. It wasn't what she had expected. She had hoped that I would simply forgive her, that we could pick up where we had left off, as if nothing had changed. But so much had changed, and I had changed with it. For the first time in years, I felt like I was making a decision that was for me, not for her, not for anyone else. "I don't understand," Mom, Rose said when I told her over the phone. "Why are you doing this? The house is ours. You're giving it up for—" "What?" I could hear the desperation in her voice, the confusion. She didn't get it, not yet. She didn't understand that this wasn't about the house. This was about reclaiming my life, about finding peace and freedom, about living for myself. "I'm not giving it up for nothing, Rose," I said, my voice firm. "I'm selling it because I need to move on. I can't keep living in the past, trying to hold on to something that no longer serves me. I need to find a place where I can be myself, where I can finally breathe without feeling like I'm constantly living in the shadow of your life." There was a long silence on the other end, and for a moment I wondered if Rose understood, if she would ever understand. But I couldn't worry about that anymore. This was my decision, and I had to stand by it. "I'm going to buy a small cottage," I said, my voice softer now. "A place in the countryside away from all of this. A place where I can live on my own terms, free from the expectations of others. I've spent my entire life putting others first, Rose. It's time for me to live for myself." When the house sold a few weeks later, it went quickly, faster than I had expected. The market was hot, and the property sold for more than I had anticipated. After paying off the remaining mortgage and the realtor's fees, I had enough left to buy a small cottage in the countryside. It wasn't large, but it was cozy and perfect for me, a place where I could finally find peace. It was a new beginning, a fresh start. And for the first time in years, I felt a sense of excitement about the future. The cottage was nothing like the sprawling house I had once dreamed of owning. It was simple, with a small garden and a view of the rolling hills in the distance. There was something comforting about it, something that made me feel like I could finally exhale. The walls of this cottage were mine, and every decision about its decor, from the soft blue curtains to the cozy armchair by the fireplace, was mine to make. I spent the first few days settling in, unpacking boxes and placing old family photos on the walls. I could already feel the weight lifting from my shoulders. I wasn't living in the shadow of the past anymore. I wasn't holding on to something that didn't belong to me anymore. This place, this cottage, was a symbol of something different, a life that was mine, one that I could shape and mold however I wanted. I started to do things I had always wanted to do, but had never made time for. I took up gardening, planting roses in the small garden out back. I began painting again, something I hadn't done since my youth, when I used to paint flowers and landscapes just to feel alive. I spent time reading books, walking along the dirt paths that wound through the hills, and simply enjoying the quiet solitude of the countryside. For the first time in years, I felt like I was truly living again. I wasn't just existing. I wasn't just fulfilling a role. I was finally living for myself. And as the days passed, I realized something important. I didn't need the approval of anyone else anymore. Not Rose, not James. I had spent my whole life giving to others, hoping for a fraction of the love and care I had shown. But I didn't need that anymore. What I needed was peace. And that was exactly what this little cottage gave me. I had found my voice, my strength, and my independence. And nothing, not even Rose's disappointment, could take that away from me now. The first few weeks in my new cottage felt like a dream. As I unpacked my things, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past slowly begin to lift from my shoulders. Every corner of the little house was mine, every nook, every cranny, every piece of furniture. For the first time in years, I didn't have to share this space with anyone. There were no expectations placed on me, no one to care for except myself. The decision to leave the house to step away from the life I had known was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but it was also the most liberating. The house was small, just enough for one person, but it felt expansive in its own way. The walls were painted a soft shade of green that reminded me of fresh spring leaves, and the floors were hardwood, the kind that creaked gently underfoot when I walked across them. I had made every decision about the decor, every choice, from the curtains to the cushions to the artwork that hung on the walls. It was my space, my sanctuary, and I felt an immense sense of pride in it. No more living for anyone else. No more sacrifices. For the first time in my life, I was living for me. In the mornings, I sipped coffee on the small porch that overlooked the fields, watching the sunrise paint the sky in hues of pink and gold. The quiet of the countryside was a balm to my soul. I could hear the birds singing, the rustle of the wind through the trees, and the distant sound of cows lowing in the meadow. It was a peaceful kind of solitude, the kind that gave me space to think, to breathe, to remember who I was before I became just Rose's mother or just someone else's caregiver. I joined a local book club shortly after I settled in. It was something I had always wanted to do, but never had the time for. The group met once a month at a cozy little cafe in town where the smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the air. The members of the club were kind, welcoming, and most of them were older like me. We talked about books, mostly fiction, the kind that transported you to another world, and I found myself laughing again, enjoying simple conversations without the weight of constant emotional labor that had consumed my life for so long. But my love for books wasn't the only thing I rediscovered in the cottage. I picked up painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I'd forgotten how much I loved to paint, how it had always been a way for me to express the parts of myself that couldn't be put into words. The first canvas I created was of the view from my backyard, a quiet meadow dotted with wildflowers with the mountains in the distance. It felt good to pour my emotions into the strokes of paint, to bring the landscape I had come to love so much to life on the canvas. It was as if I was finally giving life to my own desires, my own dreams, for the first time in a long while. And then there was the animal shelter. One afternoon, I took a walk into town and happened to pass the shelter. I had always loved animals, but when I was raising Rose, there had never been enough time for a pet. I walked in, volunteered to help with cleaning and walking the dogs, and soon I became a regular. I found myself spending hours there, making sure the animals had everything they needed, talking to the staff, and even bringing in homemade dog treats on occasion. It was a small way to give back, to fill my days with something meaningful. But it also gave me a sense of purpose, something I hadn't realized I had been craving. For the first time in years, I wasn't managing anyone else's crisis. I wasn't constantly looking after Rose, making sure she was okay, making excuses for her behavior. I wasn't worrying about the next emotional breakdown or feeling like I was just a resource for someone else's needs. I was finally taking care of me. My bond with Lily, my granddaughter, began to grow stronger too. When I had lived in the city, I had seen Lily only sporadically caught up in the whirlwind of Rose's life and the demands of raising her. But now I had the time to truly be present for Lily. We spent weekends together baking cookies, visiting the nearby farmer's market, and going on hikes through the nearby woods. I found myself smiling, laughing more, and even feeling joy in the small, simple moments. One afternoon, Lily came to visit, and we spent the day painting together. She was sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by a riot of colors and brushes, her face lit up with concentration as she tried to copy one of my paintings. When I glanced over at her, she caught my eye and smiled, her face lighting up with a genuine happiness that made my heart swell. "I'm so glad we're doing this, Grandma," she said, her eyes sparkling. "I missed you." "I missed you too, sweetheart," I said, my voice catching in my throat. For a moment, I thought about how much I had missed in those years when I was so wrapped up in Rose's life, so focused on taking care of her, that I hadn't fully seen Lily hadn't been there for her like I should have. But in this moment, I realized that it wasn't too late. I could still build the kind of relationship with her that I had missed out on before, and I would. As the weeks passed, I began to feel like a new version of myself was emerging. The woman who had been lost in the shadows of her daughter's life was beginning to re-emerge, but this time she was stronger, more confident, and more sure of her own worth. I was no longer waiting for approval from anyone. I wasn't living for anyone else's expectations. I was living for me, and that I realized was enough. The cottage became more than just a place to live. It became a reflection of who I was and who I wanted to be. I was free from the past, free from the chains that had held me back for so long, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. The future, though uncertain, was full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace it. One Saturday morning, as I sat on the porch of my cottage, the sun filtering softly through the trees, my phone buzzed. I picked it up, and to my surprise, it was a message from Lily. "Hi, Grandma. I've been thinking about you. I'd love to come visit soon if you're free. I miss you." I smiled, the warmth of her words filling me with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. The bond I had with Lily was something pure, something untainted by the complications and betrayals that had marked my relationship with Rose. Unlike the years I had spent trying to make peace with my daughter, Lily had always been a breath of fresh air, no pretense, no hidden agendas. Just love, real and unfiltered. I quickly replied, "I'd love that, sweetheart. Come visit any time. I'm free this weekend if you want to come up." We arranged to meet the following Saturday. I could hardly wait. It felt like a lifetime since I had seen her without the distance that had grown between us in recent years. I spent the next few days preparing baking her favorite cookies, picking fresh flowers from my garden, and setting up the guest room. It felt good to plan for something to do it for myself and for Lily, knowing that this visit would be different. When Lily arrived, her face lit up with that familiar, joyful smile that always made my heart swell. She looked so much like Rose did when she was young, but there was something about Lily's presence that felt different, lighter, full of hope and possibility. She ran into my arms, and for a moment, everything else faded. We spent the weekend together, walking through the woods, laughing, sharing stories, and just enjoying each other's company. It was as if the years apart had never happened. We talked about everything and nothing, and I realized just how much I had missed out on, but also how much time we still had to create new memories. As I sat with her in the garden watching the sunset, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come. I had finally found peace, something I had searched for in so many places, in so many people, but never found until now. I had learned that sometimes moving away from toxic relationships, no matter how painful, was the only way to reclaim your own happiness and peace. And as I looked at Lily, I knew that while my relationship with Rose may still be distant and uncertain, the love between Lily and me was real. It was untarnished by betrayal or hurt. It was exactly the kind of love I'd been searching for all along, pure, genuine, and unconditional. And that, I realized, was all I needed. Emily's journey is a powerful reminder of the importance of self-worth and setting boundaries, especially when we have spent years sacrificing ourselves for the sake of others. Her decision to sell the house, a symbol of all she had given up for her daughter, marks a pivotal moment of liberation. It's not just about a physical space. It's about reclaiming her life, her voice, and her peace. In society, we are often taught to prioritize the needs of others, especially family. But somewhere along the way, we forget to take care of ourselves. We become so entwined in the roles we play for others, whether it's as a parent, spouse, or caretaker, that we lose sight of who we are and what we need. Emily's story teaches us that it's okay to say enough. It's okay to step back, reevaluate, and choose to live for ourselves. It's a reminder that we are not defined by what we do for others, but by how we honor and care for ourselves. Too often, we stay in toxic relationships or situations because we fear conflict or rejection. But Emily's decision to walk away from the life she built with Rose is a testament to the power of self-love. She shows us that sometimes the hardest but most important thing we can do is let go. We all deserve to live authentically, to carve out space where we can grow, heal, and find joy. Let's honor our own needs, not out of selfishness, but out of the deep respect we owe ourselves. If you've ever felt lost or invisible in a relationship, remember this. Your peace matters. Don't be afraid to find it. What about you? Have you ever felt invisible in a relationship? How did you reclaim your peace? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.